Hey everybody, it's Kendra Eris, and welcome to the Shawn Achor's Big Potential Book Club. I'm really excited. This is our third meeting, I believe, and this meeting we are finally getting into some meat and potatoes of this book. So we are discussing chapter 3 of the book, and we're discussing some of the takeaways, the major takeaways, and some of the quotes that we really loved from the book. And I'm super excited about this because I'm actually going to, first thing I want you to know is I'm going to extend our assignment 1 week. So first of all, if you have not read chapter 3 yet, you have a whole another week to read it. And then if you have read chapter 3, I really want you to dive into this chapter because there is a lot to unpack here. A lot of awesome things to unpack, and I'm going to kind of go over them really quickly. So first thing is we're going to talk about our favorite quotes. I love the quotes from this book. Shawn is very quotable. And one of the first things that I want to talk about with this quote is at the very beginning of the chapter, he talks about how he was expecting his first, I don't know if his first child or his second child, but he's expecting a baby, and he told his wife, I'm not going to take any more bookings unless Oprah calls. Or she was like, yeah, that's fine. Don't take any more bookings unless Oprah calls. And Oprah called. So he had to take this booking. So my advice to you is start manifesting Oprah calling because she very well could. So anyway, he went onto Oprah and has a great story to tell about how he met Oprah, and it's very cool. But he talks in this chapter, in chapter 3, about 3 strategies of tapping into your full potential, into your bigger potential. And strategy 1 is to tap into the power of positive peer pressure. Strategy 2 is to create balance through variety. And strategy 3 is to create reciprocal bonds. So here's what I want to tell you going into this chapter. If you've not read it, go ahead and finish watching this Zoom call. Finish watching this recording, because you're going to get some things that are going to make you want to go read this chapter. And number 2, if you're not caught up, you have plenty of time to catch up, because we're going to do some assignments over the next week to actually tap into these 3 strategies. I really think we need to slow down the book club a little bit to actually take some time to put these suggestions into practice. So the first is, hold on one second. I'm going to first go into some quotes because I want to share what everybody from the book club had to share on their favorite quotes. So Emma said, as we are seeking big potential, we need to limit our exposure to collaborative overload by not trying to be everything to everyone and being strategic with whom we form connections. And she said she's really enjoying digging into this book and re-listening to the chapters multiple times. And I can say that I completely agree. I have been re-listening. I've listened to each chapter at least 3 times now. And Erin Sukup said that she had the same quote as Emma, and it was kind of punching her in the face. And she was like, I feel like this was like in my face and saying over and over and over again, you need to listen to this. You need to trim. You need to be strategic about who you're partnering with and where you're spending your time. So anyway, I think that's something we can all really, really learn from. A couple of quotes that I pulled was, one is, isolation is never the cure for what ails us in life. I am one that, as extroverted as I am, I tend to, when life gets tough, I tend to go inside my shell, and I tend to be very introverted. So it never works. It's never good. It never gives me what I'm looking for. Anyway, so that was a good reminder. And that the other quote I pulled was, you can be a superstar, you just can't be one alone. And Kathy said, the key to creating a super bounce for your potential is to surround yourself with people who will lift you up rather than drag you down. So I really appreciated that. So now let's talk about the takeaways. And so like I said, in earlier in this Zoom, there's 3 strategies for tapping into your bigger potential. 1, tap into the power of positive peer pressure. 2, create balance through variety. And 3, create reciprocal bonds. So I'm going to talk to you about my notes on these things because I took pretty detailed notes, and you can find those in the in the group, and under the photo that says favorite takeaways for chapter 3. So let's talk first about tapping into positive peer pressure. Listen, here's where it goes. And this is here's the truth, and let's just cut to the skinny and get rid of all the bullshit here. There is a lot of negative peer pressure around all of us. And it only takes one apple to spoil the bunch. This is something we all know about. Negative peer pressure makes us forget about the positive peer pressure around us. So basically, as he's explaining, is something we've learned 100 times before, is that we are the 5 people that we spend the most time with, right? We are the sum of all of that. And if we're spending our time around negativity, whether that's on social media or in person, and I just want to say that throughout this book, he makes it really clear, and this is what I love the most about this book. He makes it very clear that whatever we are spending our time with, media, social media, in-person networking, what we're consuming on television, and even the books that we're reading, all of this contributes to our peer pressure. Even if you're reading nonfiction stories that have characters that are negative, that can make a negative impact on our lives. So it's not about surrounding yourself with successful people or people that are always cheerful. And this is something that I think is really important to say, because I think that when you start to think about positivity, it's like it has to be rainbows and ponies all the time, or you're doing it wrong. And that's not really the case. Like, reality is different than that, right? So it's really about surrounding yourself with people that have positive traits, and those positive traits can help super bounce you in your potential to do the same for each other. So when he talks about super bouncing, I love the analogy that he uses. Like, when you're jumping on a trampoline, and like you're jumping on a trampoline by yourself or with somebody else, and if they bounce the trampoline just right, it like super bounces you really high. So that's what he means when he's talking about super bouncing and super bouncing your potential. And I just love that analogy because it's really fun. So anyway, when it comes to this, and there's a lot of notes on this, you can go check my notes in the thread. But he talks about positive influencers with social media, positive influencers in your work, and how optimism is contagious. Basically, like, when you surround yourself with people that are optimistic, you yourself become optimistic. If you surround yourself with negative influencers on social media, negative influencers in your life, negative influencers at work, people will drag you down. It doesn't matter if it's work or school or anything like that. And it also stands really, really high. Like, the statistics are crazy. Positive and engaged workers make 60% fewer errors and have a 66% lower rate of absenteeism. So whether you are an employee or a boss or a supervisor, that's really, really important. Optimistic parents raise more optimistic kids, and this starts as early as age 3. Positive people bring out the best in you, not the stress in you. And I loved that quote, because I think sometimes we think about, and I know this for myself, like, we think about positivity as something that's wishy-washy. It's hokey. It's woo-woo or whatever. And I know I've felt that myself. But when you surround yourself with people that help lift you up, it helps bring you up. Positive influencers can be authors that you read either in books or in media, social media, people you follow, television characters you watch or read, and people that you know in real life. So here's assignment 1. Assignment 1 for this chapter is to identify the positive influencers that are in your life. Write them down. And we're going to share this in a post later. The second is creating balance through variety. So in this part of the chapter, he talks about being diverse. Being very diverse in the people that you surround yourself with, because you cannot be a superstar alone. The more varied and diverse your team, the better. And the more diverse your social support network, the more resilient you'll be when life throws you a curveball. So what he's talking about in this chapter that was really amazing to me is sometimes we tend to gravitate toward people that are most like us. And they may look like us. They may have a similar social status as us. They may have the same skin color or the same background or ethnicity. Whatever it is, we tend to surround ourselves by people that are very similar to us. And if you can expand your network into people that are not only similar to you, but also opposite of you, then your social network, you'll be more resilient when life throws you a curveball. So he encourages you to seek a mix of pillars. He calls them pillars, bridges, and extenders. So pillars are the people that are like a rock for you. Those are the people that are there through good times and bad, your best friends, your solid mentors, your teammates. They always have your back. They're unconditional support and love. You need those people in your life. So assignment 2 is to identify the pillars in your life. Who are the people, whether they're on social media or in your real life, that have your back no matter what? Who are your pillars? And then I want you to identify your bridges. Who are the people? Bridges are the people that connect you to the people outside your existing ecosystem. These are the people in your life that invite you to new groups or introduce you to new people. They probably have networks that don't necessarily overlap with yours. So there's 2 parts to being a great, to identifying with connectors. It's not only about identifying who is the connector in your network, but also in who you can be a connector for other people. Okay, so think about who the bridges are. Who are your bridges? Who are you a bridge for? Because when you're a bridge for people, and this is going to be in the next part of the chapter about reciprocal relationships, that's going to be really important. And then the third is to identify who the extenders are in your life. Extenders are positive influencers that push you past your comfort zone. Listen, these are the people, these are the mentors, these are the friends, these are people that are in your life that like push you off the cliff, that are like, oh, you think you can do that thing? I'm going to help you do that thing. They get you outside your comfort zone. They get you to do new things. They get you to try new things, to get around new people. And they also will call you out when you're overextending yourself, which is super important and part of the next part on reciprocal bonds. But so if you are capitalizing on diversity in your network, you and embracing people's differences, this is going to help you to find more people that are extenders and bridges and pillars. So that's kind of like part 2, 3, and 4 of this next week's assignment, is identifying who these people are in your life. And then I'm going to challenge you to spend time with these people, whether you're watching their videos or inviting them to coffee or something along those lines, or even just reaching out to them and saying thank you, to connecting with the people that are your pillars, your bridges, and your extenders in your real life. And then the third lesson is on creating reciprocal bonds. So here's reciprocal bonds basically means when you ask people for help, you're also being a help to other people. And sometimes we are really quick to ask for help or to demand help, but we're not always really quick on reciprocating that. And also that goes the other direction. Sometimes some of us are very much givers, where we give so much of ourselves, but we don't expect reciprocation back. We don't expect people to do things back for us. And that can be basically what he says in this book, is that one-way relationships do not give you the super bounce to your big potential. Basically, one-way relationships are very dangerous. But here's the thing. A lot of times we will spend time blaming the other party for not reciprocating, when really it's up to us to be the person, to be the friend that is reaching out and creating that reciprocal bond. We can only control ourselves. We can't control what other people are doing. So to get the most out of a relationship, we should be offering assistance as much as we're asking for assistance. Or if we need assistance from people, we should know to offer assistance first. He suggested that we read Give and Take by Adam Grant. So I'm going to be looking into that. And here was some cool statistics that he shared. So he talked about perceived friends and real friends. Basically, if you did a, like a, what's the word I'm looking for? A survey of all the people in your life, right? And if you all surveyed each other, would you call each other friends or not? And so real friends are people that say that, like, I'm your friend and you're my friend. Okay. And perceived friends are people that I might say you're my friend, but you wouldn't consider me a friend back. So it's kind of a perceived relationship. And what the research says is that if our friends are happy, our real friends, our true friends, if our true friends are happy, we are 60% more likely to be happy as well. But if our perceived friends are happy, we're only 12% more likely to be happy. So those real, true relationships, those reciprocal relationships, that like those give and take relationships where you're both giving as much to each other, are super, super important to happiness. And here is the caveat to reciprocal relationships. And this was like the big punch in the gut. It was really hard for me to listen to, even for the third time. And something that I had a conversation with my husband about this afternoon. He said, be careful of collaborative overload. Overachievers tend to overextend themselves and make themselves too thin, and they want to give too much to other people, and then they end up failing a lot. And I would imagine if you're listening to this, you probably fall into the category of saying yes too often. And you probably fall into the category of wanting to give too much to your friends and to give too much to other people and have a hard time with boundaries. And I'm going to tell you, the rest of the book really goes into a lot of those things. So there's more to be had on this subject, but this is where it starts in talking about being careful of collaborative overload. The cool thing that he ended this chapter with was that to get yourself over overload. So what we do when we say yes too often, and when we have collaborative overload, and when we find ourselves completely overwhelmed, is we try to pretend like we got it all together. And we try to pretend like we got this. It's not a problem. We can handle it all. But the quickest way out of that overload, that overwhelm, is to ask for help. And that was a really great reminder. A lot of us, and I'm sure if you're watching this, you fit right in. A lot of us tend to find ourselves in overwhelm and we don't know how to get out. And I was very quickly reminded that the easiest way out is to ask for help, and that there are probably a ton of people that want to help. So as a recap, this is what we're going to do for this next week. We're going to catch up with chapter 3. If you haven't read all of chapter 3, or you haven't listened to all of chapter 3, you will have the next week to catch up. We're going to slow down the book club a little bit, and we're going to identify a few things. The first is we are going to identify the positive peer pressures around us. So we're going to identify the people that are around us in our lives, whether it's social media or real life or something like that, that are giving us a positive influence. We are going to identify balance through variety. I'm going to have to go through my notes again. Hold on. We're going to identify the 3 things here: positive peer pressure, balance through variety, and reciprocal bonds. So we're going to identify the positive people that are in our lives, and we're going to write those down so we can, I'm going to share some tips and ideas on how you can keep, especially in social media, those people in front of you. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about varying our networks and capitalizing on diversity of our networks, and then on creating reciprocal bonds. So I will have different posts for these 3 or those 3 things. I think there's 4 total. I have to go back through my notes here, but I talked about them earlier. But I just want everybody to know that whatever, like this chapter was a really good reminder for me that we're all going through the same thing. We're all going through, there's a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of things going on around us. There's a lot of pressure to balance our lives, and there's a lot of pressure to give and take together, and we're all going through that. And I think it makes sense to slow this book club down just a little bit and go through these things and to really identify the people that are going to help to bring out the most big potential in each other. So that's that. I want to say thank you. And I would love, there's a few people on, if you want to pop on and unmute yourself, if you have anything that you want to share that this chapter really brought out for you, I would love to hear it. I see Kathy's on. She usually has something to share.
Okay.
Yes, I do, Chris. I
hope you guys are having a great Labor Day. All right, wait, Kathy, I can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
What do you want?
Wait. No.
Are you talking umbrella effect?
Let me turn it up. Wait, try again.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yes.
Good.
It was really an eye-opening chapter for me. A lot of reasons, but so many times I think to myself, I think I know who my friends are, right? And I think I know who the ones are that are gonna support me and lift me up. And things happened, and they're not those people.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? And
yes.
So it's like, I guess this whole book, this whole journey, this whole story has made me stop and think, who really are the people that are in my corner, who are supporting my journey in this business? I have found that over my Lime Life business, people are, for the most part, my friends are supportive. But then I have other friends who think I'm in something that's just weird, and they're not.
Kathy, do you find yourself almost hyper focusing on the people that aren't supporting you?
Well, that was another part that I got out of this book. I need to just get rid of that. I need to I feel like I'm kind of joking with myself, but I need to go to Craigslist and find new friends. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. And it's not like there's anything wrong with them. It's hard. It's like you don't want to villainize those people because they're not bad. They just don't know what you know.
Right. And so it has been a journey of about a year ago. I was very focused on a friend of mine who was very negative about what I was doing. And her voice was in my head more than all the other positive people in my world. And I didn't understand that. Why was I so focused on the negative? And then reading this book, I just was I guess that's a normal thing. But why do we do that to ourselves? And so I just am learning that so in the past, I'm going to say 6 months, I've literally let her go. And I tried very hard not to think about any words that she says, and I try and focus on everyone else that is positive in my life. But it really is a journey of finding the people that want to lift you up my point is the people that want to lift you up that are genuine, because I'm finding there's very many people that give there and being supportive of you, but being genuine is different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know. And it's really, really hard because you just tend to hyper focus on whatever the negativity is. I always I had a very successful video one time that had tens of thousands of positive engagements on it, hearts and likes and comments, and there's tens of thousands of all of that, and 3 people unfollowed me after this video. But there were tens of thousands of positive engagements and 3 people unfollowed me. And I was like, so like, I had the blinders on those 3 people. Who are they? Why did they unfollow me? And like, what can I do to get them back?
Yeah.
I literally had thousands of people eating out of the palm of my hand, and I almost couldn't give a shit about them.
Right.
And that's terrible, but that's what we do.
Why?
I don't know.
Right. I would like an answer.
I would too. And we gave my 12-year-old daughter, she'll be 13 in December. We have been the outliers and the last hurrahs to the YouTube. She just got YouTube access today. And I sat down with her and like went over the app, and I talked to her about all of the reasons why I was so hesitant on giving her access. And the primary reason was I didn't want to diminish her feelings about herself.
Right.
I didn't want her to see other people and compare herself to them. I didn't want her to see what social media influencers were doing and saying, and how people were dressing or doing their makeup or doing their hair. I didn't want her to be exposed to all of that and diminish what she already knew and loved about herself. And I told her that. But yet, like, I went to the app, and just by putting her information in, it suggested videos, and they were all videos about like appearance. And I was like, I can't protect her from this.
You can't.
I can't.
No.
I can't protect myself. I can't protect you. I can't protect her. This is the stuff she's going to be exposed to. All I can do is like give myself and her and you and anybody else that's watching, like, as much hope that you're okay, that you're enough, and be the example that I'm enough in who I am. But man, just a punch in the face. But listening to this chapter was really like, we're all dealing with the same thing.
Right. And what I loved that about this chapter. It made me feel like, okay, check. I'm in with everyone else. Like, again, I'm part of a group. We're all feeling the same way. But again, I keep going back to, for me personally, I need to stop that. Like, I don't want that.
We're going to be the example of getting past that. And I think we can do it. So that's why I knew I went into this book club very aggressively. Like, we're going to read an hour a week. And then I was like, but how do we apply what we've learned to our lives if we don't slow down a little bit? So I want to slow down a little bit. I want to identify for myself who my positive influencers are in my life. One of the things that I had a conversation earlier this week with was somebody that's actually very negative on social media. She's a friend of mine, so I felt very confident, like, and comfortable going to her. And I'm like, why are you such a negative ass on social media? And it's because of who she follows. It's because of the groups she follows and the people she follows and the way she chooses to engage in social media. So the algorithm is working the way it's supposed to. The way she's engaging means that more of that information is coming into her face and into her life. And so then I see those things because we're close friends and I engage with her. And so we had a really good conversation about it. There's something about the negativity she just really enjoys. And I'm like, but doesn't that cause you stress? And it does cause her stress.
Of course it does.
It's causing her like gut-wrenching stress.
Yeah, right.
So I've invited her to the book club. She's not interested. But maybe she is now, and she's reading this or she's listening to this. Maybe this is like 3 months in the future and she's listening to this and she's like, oh, that was me Kendra's talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angie. But I think, so it made me stop and pause and think, who do I need to go, not necessarily unfriend, but who do I need to go unfollow?
Yes. I agree.
Where are those negative, like, and like, where are those negative pieces in my life on social media coming from? And then also, like, when do I need to stop answering the phone if those negative influences are in real life? Or where do I need to stop showing up if those places, and some of us that are working like 9 to 5s or or even part-time jobs that we have to show up. Some of those negative influencers are right there when we show up at work. And I think that that's super tricky. Like that's extra tricky on how you not, but he gets into a little bit more of that later in the book on strategies for that. And he really talks more about how that one negative influencer, like they do say it takes one sour apple to ruin the bunch, or one bad apple to ruin the bunch.
Right.
And that's really completely true. Like you could be surrounded by positive people, and that one negative person will bring you down to that level.
100%.
Yeah.
But this chapter really made me think about that wholeheartedly, and made me think that I personally need to take a really good hard look at who I am surrounding myself with.
Right. And you made it like it's your responsibility.
This was like a one of those like gut kicks in the stomach. You know what I mean? Like I really need to take a look at who I am surrounding myself with, and why I'm surrounding myself by those people, and good and bad. And I feel like then the other question to that for myself is, how do I continue then to develop those relationships because of this being a networking business. I've been networking for the past couple of years, and I keep meeting these people that I feel like I have this connection with, and we'll connect like every couple of months. But like, I feel like these are the people I should be connecting with more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I personally have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I think we all do. I think regardless of how much success you've had or where you think you fall in all the spectrum, I think we all have work to do on. This chapter gave me a lot of hope that that positive work that you're doing really pays off. It's really easy to look at my daughters at the age that they are and give them some perspective on this. My one daughter, she'll be 11 here in a couple of weeks, and she's never really had a best friend. My 13-year-old daughter has had a best friend for years, like that one solid friendship, that one like BFF that they just do everything together. And my 11-year-old just got that this year. And I've been telling her for several years, because a lot of her sphere of influence has been sort of negative. And the girls have been kind of catty and more trouble than they're worth. And she's had to make a lot of hard decisions. So because of that, hasn't really had a best friend. So now she's got this new best friend. And as I'm looking at all of this and all this go down, I'm like, this is no different now for you as an adult, Kendra, as it is for her as a child. And like I tell her, if somebody's being negative, you're just going to have to walk away.
Yes. My daughter's 20, and she has gone through her ups and downs with best friends, and she's in a good place right now with friends and things like that. But I have said to her, it's like, it doesn't go away. I'm going to be very honest with you. Relationships with women, it's not an easy road. Hopefully you'll just find one or two that you can know you'll always count on. But it's not an easy road. It's I don't know why we women who really, in my opinion, I love to support women and be there for women and things like that. But like, I don't know, we kick each other down.
We do. But don't you think once you tap into a group of women that are all there to lift each other up, like that really does happen?
Oh my God.
Once you get there.
I mean, seriously and truthfully, yes, 110%. But I don't think I realized that until I had that. Yeah.
I didn't either. I thought it was hokey. I thought I just didn't play well with others. I used to say, I used to say all the time, I just don't play well with others, so I just have to play by myself. I said I don't have girlfriends. I said all kinds of things like that. And now I believe I really understand what a bunch of crap that was, and that was really I just hadn't learned to. And it was really, if I put it on myself, like if I put the responsibility on myself, it was I hadn't learned to lift other women up, so nobody was going to lift me up. And you almost have to take the responsibility that you're going to be the first one to lift somebody else up. You're going to be the first one to say, I believe in you. this person, and then it comes back. But it's really hard to do because our teenage years are just formidable, and they rain into our souls, and it's kind of all for one for all. It's dog eat dog, and I think we learn early on that it's really hard. But I think this chapter and going into the next chapter is all going to connect. But I want to take this next week and just kind of identify these three pillars that or these three things that he talks about. One being a pillar, a connector, and then an extender, and identifying who those people are. Because I think if you identify who those people are in your life, you will make a point to surround yourself with them more. And because of social media, like social media is getting such a bad rap, but because of social media, I can literally surround myself with people. Like if Oprah is your mecca of people that you want to be like, and I'm not saying that has to be, but if that's you and that's for you, you can literally surround yourself with Oprah. In 1987, you could not do that. You could only catch her at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for 1 hour, and she was only going to talk about what you want her to. Now, like, you can literally get her on social media, in a magazine, through a book, or a podcast, or on YouTube, or, you can surround yourself with positive influencers and positive influence on from the people that really do lift you up and make you feel better, even if they're through the computer. Right. So, but then I think it's also important to recognize who those people are in real life. It could be your husband, your best friend. It could be like a mentor. He talks about friendships. And then I think it also opens you up to understanding that if you don't have those, it's up to you to go figure out who those people should be for you, mm-hmm. and where to find them. And I think it's important. It's kind of a punch in the gut, though, like you said. Oof.
It was a very interesting chapter and very eye-opening for me, and I loved it. I did. I loved the chapter.
He doesn't make you feel like you're wrong.
No.
I love that part. I don't feel wrong when I listen to him. I'm like, okay, this is my job. I'm going to do that now.
Right. It's true. And I think it really is up to me, as it is up to all of us, to do our best to surround ourselves with positive people. But also, like, I know myself, like, I know that I'm a positive person. So, like, I am that to a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Like,
and when he talks about reciprocation, he's like, listen, it's up to you to be the person that's reciprocating first. Right. Not like, because a lot of times we say, well, I supported them and they didn't support me back. And we focus so much on that support back. And really it's just about giving of yourself. Yeah, I don't know. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's all good.
Thank you so much for participating in all of this. And
thank you for doing this, Kendra. Really, seriously.
Yeah, this is a good book, and I'm really holding myself accountable to sticking with it and to sharing all of my notes and making sure that we're understanding. Like, it's just really golden. And I can say, as a leader, where I have failed, one of the last things that he said was that true leadership is about people. A lot of times we want to focus on the mission or the vision or the overall goal of a person or an organization. And really, if we learn to focus on the people and how important they are and how much, like, each person can, like, really give to us in our lives, we go so much further together. And I know that's the place that I failed as a leader. Like, and I don't mean failed in a bad way. I don't even mean like, I'm not beating myself up, but I'm saying I did not ever take time to really appreciate the people around me and what they were able to give me. And I know when I was looking for why my leadership wasn't going in a better direction, I know it was because I was so interfocused on myself. And people call that ego, or, I mean, you call it a lot of different things, but, and ego is certainly one of those words. But I've really appreciated learning that it's really about appreciating the people in your lives and the people that go up with you. And yeah, I mean, it's a very humbling experience, this book. So
Yeah, I agree.
I'm gonna take it all with. I'm gonna see if I can find what it was that he said. It was the last thing that I typed to about what leadership meant. No, it wasn't the last thing. Here it is. The key to leadership is people. Is basically what it was.
Right.
And diverse people. And it's not just people like you. It's people that are opposite of you. It's people that bring that fill all the holes in your life. It's all the things you can't do, and finding the people that can do it. So anyway, thanks everyone for watching. I will close this up today. I will post the replay, and then I will have, I think, 3 or 4 different posts that we can share on who are pillars and we don't necessarily have to share names, but just to know that you did the work to sit down and one of the things I think is really important is when you put pen to paper, take the thought out of your head and put it in your hand and put that thought from pen to paper and identifying who those people are. It helps you to focus on those people. And then when you're focusing on the people that are those positive pillars and the positive influencers in your life, then you end up getting all the goodness it is back from them. And someday Oprah will be calling each of us. That's what I also learned from this chapter. Because he said at the very beginning that he was going to have a baby, and he said, I'm not taking any more bookings unless Oprah calls, and then Oprah called. So he manifested Oprah. So I feel like we should all just start manifesting Oprah.
Yeah, I'm in.
I'm in too. Thanks, Kathy and Amanda and Missy for being here tonight. Appreciate you guys as well for listening in. And I will see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.